Right now at the Home Depot, you can stock up on storage solutions to fit your needs, like the Husky heavy-duty shelving with weight capacity up to 2,500 pounds per shelf, so it can handle all of your garage organization needs. Your power tools or your weightlifting set, if that's what you're into. Because the right storage system for you should fit what you need it to. Right now, get up to 20% off select online storage solutions that can handle anything you throw at them, on them, or in them at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
The most dangerous leaks happen when no one's home. From LAist and APM, American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. A frozen pipe can wreck your house in minutes. Here's how to stop it before the damage starts.
Let's say you're leaving for a while or going on vacation. If you put any one of those into the away mode, if the water moves, that isolation valve will immediately close and then notify you on your cell phone.
Chef Roy Choi is famous for his food that blends LA's distinct cultures.
My mom is always at the stove. There's pots and pans everywhere. Next to the kitchen, there was a wet bar filled with vinegars and sesame oils and fermented bean paste.
Expert advice from sleep doctor Michael Bruce that will turn your bedroom into the ultimate sleep sanctuary. All of this plus we're answering your home improvement questions at 877-864-7460. Coming up right after the news. It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Winter is in full swing, and you can never take too many precautions when it comes to protecting your plumbing. Water damage from a burst pipe can easily cost several $1,000s, and that doesn't include the damage it leaves. Jody Gardner is a master plumber and is the plumbing manager for Climate Control HVAC KC in Kansas City, Missouri. So Jody, can a pipe burst even in a new home?
Unfortunately, yeah, there's codes and regulations in place to where it shouldn't be something that happens, and it's not common, but corners get cut inevitably. And when people are missing timelines, we see plumbing that's put in outside or exterior walls, a lot of user error. They don't build it like they used to, so.
And does the type of pipe matter if it's copper versus PEX versus PVC?
Type of pipe doesn't matter so much when it comes to actually freezing. It does have an effect on the outcome of what happens if it does freeze. So let's say copper pipes freeze. When the ice expands, it can cause the copper pipe to break. There's a lot of new plumbing nowadays like PEX and PEX-B, which is like an Uponor. They expand when they freeze. And most common, they can actually just go back to their original size once the water gets thawed out.
Wow. And what happens to PVC when it freezes?
PVC breaks very easily. I mean, it's plastic. CPVC breaks extremely easy. The downside is both of them are actually susceptible to heat also. So thawing them out turns into an issue, and they're very brittle.
And where is the most common place for a pipe to break or leak? Is it inside, outside of a home?
A common place is anywhere near the exterior, of course, or anywhere that the outside temperatures can get to it. Not necessarily even the temperatures, just a little bit of wind, especially when we have super low wind chill. Everybody sees that famous phrase of when somebody says it's cold outside, and everybody always says, well, it wouldn't be as cold if it wasn't the wind. And pipes are the same way. So if they're under a crawl space, especially under places like trailers or older homes, it just takes a small gap for that wind to get through there, and it can freeze a pipe real quick.
And what are some ways that you suggest protecting pipes?
Filling the gaps, of course, that I was just talking about is a big one. They're very easy to find. Just look for daylight. You shouldn't see any from under your house.
Yeah.
If you can see daylight, then wind can get through there. And it's amazing how many times you see a crack in an old foundation or some of the rock foundations, and pipes are right by it all the time. But yeah, getting those sealed up, of course, is great to do. Beyond that, there's heat tapes that are usable and in pipe insulation. Most commonly, you see people wrap like a heat tape or an electrical cable around them, which is designed to keep that pipe just above freezing.
And what is the tape or the electrical cables? I don't know if I'm familiar with that.
They take that wire and you wrap it around the pipe that's got a thermostat on the end of it. And as soon as that pipe reaches a temperature that becomes close to freezing, then the electronics kick on and they'll heat that cable up wrapped around the pipe. It's used best when it has an insulation over the top of it also. That way you can keep that heat in there. Don't let that ambient temperature take it away.
And is this the foam insulation that sort of has a cut down one side, kind of looks like a pool noodle, and you wrap it around?
That's the most common one a lot of people like to use, at least professionals. It is nice because there's actually a peel and stick inside of that opening. So when you put it on the pipe, you can peel that cover off almost like a Band-Aid. And it's going to make one side of it sticky, and then you're going to be able to push it together, and that's going to completely encase that pipe. It just takes a gap about 1/8 of an inch with a high wind speed and a really bad wind chill. You just want to get that pipe covered.
So let's talk about smart devices. I know there's smart alarms that can alert you when your pipes are either leaking or should they burst. Can you explain how these work?
Originally, there were water sensing cables or, devices to where if water got on it, it would trigger out an alarm. The bad thing is over time, people started to realize that just because you knew that your house was flooding didn't mean you could do anything about it. Technology came around and they started using pressure devices and ultrasonic frequencies that are inside of the valve bodies themselves. What they are is they're an all-in-one device. They run a frequency across the pipe at an angle and detect the molecules in the water for movement. One of the devices measures pressure on the water. If that pressure drops, then it knows that water is being used. After a certain amount of time, it memorizes your usage patterns. But most importantly, let's say you're leaving for a while or going on vacation. If you put any one of those into the away mode, if anywhere in that house, not just in that location, it could be upstairs, downstairs, outside, if the water moves, that isolation valve will immediately close and then notify you on your cell phone that you had a problem and that water was running.
Now, is the isolation valve near the main source of water coming into your home? Would it let all of that drain out, or is there a way to stop it closer maybe to individual points?
No, and yeah, you're right. And that is unfortunately one of the downsides. The perfect example is a water heater. If you get a leak in your water heater and it's at the top of the water heater, you get a lot less water damage than if the leak is at the bottom of the water heater.
Right.
Unfortunately, nothing that I know of will stop the return of the water or what's already in the pipes. The water that's in that pipe, it is there and you're still going to get it, but definitely a minimal damage versus the alternate.
What is one thing that you can do right now to protect your pipes and prevent a leak this winter?
To prevent a leak, I would definitely work on making sure your house is sealed up. That's just beneficial on everything. It's going to help with your plumbing. It's going to help with your efficiency on your heating and stuff like that. It's going to cut down on your cost. So anything that covers a wide area of savings or safety is always good. Even if you don't have a susceptible system of where it could freeze, it's just going to increase your efficiency on your water bill or on your gas bill, your electric bill, or whatever it is you use to heat your water.
Jody, thank you so much for this information. We appreciate your time.
That's not a problem. It was really fun.
That was Jody Gardner from Climate Control KC in Kansas City, Missouri. For more advice on frozen pipes and plumbing, go to thisoldhouse.com. Right now, we're answering your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Julian from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I ran into your show. I think it's new on our radio show.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about exhaust fans in bathrooms.
Yeah.
And it caught my ear because the exhaust fan in one of my bathrooms died many years ago, and it occurred to me that if I just turn on the whole house, not the whole house fan, the central air fan, it might take care of the moisture.
Oh, okay.
Now, your name is Jen.
Yes, it is.
Jen is a genie. Can I get 3 wishes about my house?
We can try to answer one at least.
We think of Jen as more of a guru than a genie.
So to help answer your question, I've got Ross Trithui, the home engineer for the show, and Zach Detmore, general contractor for the show, both here to help. Ross, what do you think about using your central air fan as a bathroom exhaust fan?
Well,
you love it, Ross. Be honest.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So it's a step in the right direction in terms of doing nothing, like if it's better than doing nothing. So I'll give you that. But what you're doing is effectively moving the moisture and, spreading it out over a larger volume, right? Because if you circulate the air in your house, you're getting air mixing and migration. So if you shower, and then that's a big assumption. I'm assuming you shower. There's moisture generated when you shower.
That is a big assumption. I am retired, and I just happened to shower today, quarterly.
He takes a shower every 3 weeks, whether he needs it or not.
Well, then you're good. You don't need an exhaust fan. Yeah, you're good.
I know. And it's the winter, and it's going to be dry, and I need all that moisture.
That's right. You're humidifying your house.
Anyway, so you're saying it's better than nothing?
No, so think about it, Julie. So when you shower, that you generate moisture, right? And so the moisture, basically concentrates in the bathroom. And so, what we get concerned about is when there's too much moisture in that bathroom, then it starts to kind of reach surfaces that it shouldn't, and then there's a chance for mold to grow. And so what we try to do is try to keep that space dry. And the way we do that is with an exhaust fan vented to outside. Most people vent them into the attic, which is not a good idea either.
Yeah.
So you want to exhaust that moisture to the exterior, right? So that's the main kind of goal. And so this is really climate dependent. If you're in Houston, Texas, you're going to have some serious issues doing what you're doing now. But in Indianapolis, it's a colder, drier climate. So of course, it's less of a concern. But what you're doing is when you run your central AC, air conditioning fan in fan circulate mode, what you're doing is effectively air mixing and moving air from one room of the house to another room in the house. And so you're diffusing that moisture over a larger area in your home. So instead of having a local concentration of moisture build up in your, basically like a hot, humid box in your bathroom, you're spreading the humidity kind of like a humidifier across the rest of your house. And so you can get away with that in the wintertime.
Dilution is the solution to humidity.
Not in the summer, though.
Why damage the bathroom ceiling paint quickly when you can damage all the paint in the whole house slowly?
Love it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You know what? The idea of standing on a ladder changing that exhaust fan is something I've contemplated, and I might just do it.
Okay.
Can you still use your phone?
Can I still use my phone? What do you mean?
Yeah, to call a contractor to have them change the fan out for you?
Hell no. You know what makes me do it? The thing that motivates me to do my own stuff? I price a job.
I think you could find a friendly neighbor nearby that would hop up on that ladder for you.
Well, if you get some good prices, I'm happy to take care of it for you for twice that.
Very good. Now can I have my 3 wishes?
Yeah.
Take care, Julian.
Coming up, we answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. It's This Old House Radio Hour. Today's episode is supported by Quo, spelled Quo, the modern alternative to run your business communications. Quo understands just how much the basic stuff matters, like how you should talk to customers and keep your team on the same page. Their cleaner, more modern setup can make everything feel smoother and bring the level up mindset to your business. Quo allows your entire team to handle calls and texts from one shared number, so there's no more missed messages or disconnected conversations. Since everyone sees the full thread, replies are faster and customers feel genuinely cared for. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/thisoldhouse. That's QUO.com/thisoldhouse. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Right now, we're answering your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Liza calling from Trumansburg, New York.
Hi, Liza. What's your question today?
I have a walk-in shower that's tiled floor and walls, and there's two problems. One is that the floor is not sloped very well, and it doesn't drain, and so we get mold, and we have well water, so it also gets some discoloration from the calcium and the iron. So that's one problem. My question is, can I tile over the tile floor, or can I put in like a plastic pan over it? And the other is that I not very smartly grouted everything with white grout on the floor and the walls, and it's getting discolored. And I also want to know if I can grout over the white grout.
All right. We've got Zach Detmore, general contractor for This Old House, here on the line to help us out. Zach, you know a thing or two about tiling a shower?
Liza, do you want the joyful news or the bad news first?
I'll take the bad news first.
Okay. You have to rip that tile out. There isn't a fix for the slope that doesn't involve removing the tile, is the simple answer.
Okay.
Womp, womp. This is
I thought you would say
this
that.
is a problem that's pretty chronic, but in shower systems, most of the products we use are sort of porous. So if you build over this, you're still going to have water pooling, but below your other tile system, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So I would say live with it, and every time you're done showering, you have to, squeegee the floor towards the drain, or rip it out and do it properly, which is no fun, but that's really the only way to go.
Okay, that's kind of what I expected, but not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, but great news about the grout.
Okay, what's the news about the grout?
So grouting over white grout with more grout is making the assumption that there's enough sort of room for you to build up, that it's not going to be super thin and bleeding through and look blotchy in areas. But you can purchase dyes. So you can clean the whole shower, scrub all your grout, so hopefully it's, open. And then you can buy sort of a dye that you're going to paint onto the grout and wipe off, and it's going to make it a darker color. And you're still going to get staining on it, but hopefully because it's white, it won't be as bothersome.
Okay, that's cool. And do you paint on the tile too, or just the grout?
You certainly can get it on the tile, because this dye is doing is it is sort of soaking in to the grout itself. If you have a tile like a subway tile, a glazed tile, then it's going to wipe off extremely easily. If you have a travertine tile or something that's extremely open and gritty, then it could be the type of thing that you want to be expertly applying it only to the grout joints, so that you have less of a hassle cleaning it up.
Okay, well, that's good news, because I have tiny white subway tiles.
Beautiful. You can easily wipe it off. So you're going to put it on. You're still going to try and get as much, be accurate with your application. But just remember, this color isn't as deep as if the grout were that color. So I would recommend coming back with a high quality sealer over the top of the grout, just to keep it cleaner longer, but also try and preserve that dye. And then I would maybe try and reseal, once every 6 months or something, just to manage that. You probably don't need to go crazy from your waist up, but certainly the bottom half of the shower where everything gets wet, you may want to, keep up with. But you can always keep that extra little bottle of dye and just touch up as needed too.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any products you recommend for cleaning the grout really well and then also for the dye?
Not really. I think my pro tip for cleaning the grout is a brush that is powered. So if you own a drill, you can buy a circular brush that goes in the drill, and that's going to sort of do a lot of the elbow grease work. And then you're just sort of holding the tool, and it's really scrubbing the joint for you. So I think that's good. I don't think there's a particular product that's better at cleaning. Anything that you can get at, that has tile cleaning in it is going to do a good job. But I think it's really that elbow grease to scrub out the areas that's going to give you the best results. And then I would purchase the dye from anywhere locally. They're all pretty much the same. There's about 4 reputable grout brands out there, and one is not drastically superior to the other. So if you just search that term like grout dye, whatever you can get locally would be fine.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm glad there's at least some good news in this.
Yay and aw.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No problem. Think about taking baths. That would solve the problem with this shower.
It's a different shower.
Get into cold plunges.
All right. We wish you luck. Thanks for the call.
See ya.
Thank you.
Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hello, good morning. My name's Dennis Dean. I'm calling you from Livermore, Colorado.
Hey, Dennis, what's your question today?
I have kind of an odd electrical problem. I recently had to replace a exterior electrical outlet on an outbuilding on my property. The outbuilding has 100 amp service. The outlet is on a 20 amp breaker. And I went down, turned off the 20 amp breaker, opened up the outlet, disassembled it, and tested it with my contactless tester. The outlet had 2 hot wires, 2 neutrals, and a ground, all 12 gauge, nothing fancy. I tested the wires, and one of them was still hot. So I went back into the building and turned off all the breakers, including the 100 amp main service, and went back and retested the wires, and that one wire was still hot. This kind of shook my faith in things, so I'm wondering if you've got any idea what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, we've got Zach Detmore, general contractor for This Old House, and Heath Eastman, an electrician for the show, both here to help.
Great, thank you.
I know what this is.
Zach, you know what this is? I want to hear
what this is. Okay. Without getting too specific, was the tester you're using red?
No, it was yellow.
Okay, I'm out of ideas then.
That's it? That's the only one we had?
That was it. I had these testers for a while made by a certain manufacturer. I don't want to call them out, but they called everything, they would beep and light up when there was no power going to them.
Happens a lot.
That would be disconcerting, yes.
Yeah.
You would be extra safe.
So, Dennis, tell me a little bit about the building. How far away is it away from the main property or main building? Is it like a couple hundred feet, something close?
It's 30, 40 yards at most.
Okay.
I would wager, given just the lay of the land, I would wager the power line actually goes to the outbuilding before it comes to the main building.
Really? Okay.
Just the way the land is, the geography of the land is laid out.
All right. I guess one of the first questions would be if there's any chance of, how things were built and when they were built, if there was something that was originally run to that outbuilding as a single circuit that was existing, and then someone added a panel down the road and never separated the two, but if you're thinking it comes the other way, maybe not.
No, we built the property. We built the house in 2000. And it was all built together, and there's never been any major electrical upgrades.
And would you say it was built in 2000?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's fairly new. So if you have a panel in there, then you're fairly comfortable that receptacle you were working on came off of the panel that is in that outbuilding.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's possible it's connected to something up here in the house.
Yeah,
but that just seems odd.
If you built it new, I'm just trying to see if you probably didn't. If it was something that was existing, someone might have had different intentions originally, and who knows what they ran. Zach was onto a really good point. The contactless testers are a great first indicator, but you can't rely on them.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll show that you have voltage when you don't. Sometimes they won't show you when you do. So yes, Zach, you're right.
Oh, that's worrisome. Yeah.
He was just waiting for that sentence.
You're right. You're right. So I am fine with using them as an initial indicator to kind of verify if something is on or off. Once you open it up, and it's always better to double check it with a multimeter.
Did you try shutting off everything in the house and seeing if it still is showing?
Jen might be right there. If you turn that off and that kills the whole property, and that turned it off, it might be fed from something else too. It's a little hard to say. I mean, if you built it, I would think you'd probably remember doing something like that specifically. Like, did you have a receptacle out there you wanted controlled in the main house to turn on lights or anything else that you can recall?
No, there was never any discussion of anything along those lines.
Okay.
The systems should be pretty independent between the two buildings.
Yeah. I mean, I would think it would come off of that panel.
Breakers inside.
Right? I think you're right.
Just to see. This is one of those fun situations where you get to send somebody into the basement to the breaker, and then you get to stay by the outlet, and you get to yell to each other as loud as you possibly can to try to figure it out. It's really fun.
It's a fun game.
Yeah. We played at my house all the time.
Yeah.
So your suggestion is I bring somebody else in and let them get electrocuted working on the thing instead of me get electrocuted.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, don't do that yourself.
Yeah. It's a good teachable moment.
That's like appeal.
That's like rule number 1. You don't do that. Yeah, where the house is so new, though, it's weird that you wouldn't recall doing that. But it's certainly worth a shot. Start rifling through the other breakers and see if you can find what turns that off, just in case. But always follow up with a multimeter just to make sure.
No, I have such a thing. So yes, I will definitely test it with the multimeter.
All right. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, my name is Maria Capanella, and I'm calling from Marlborough, Mass. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely, Maria. What's your question today?
Well, I have a sunroom that's, it hasn't been insulated on the floor, and it's very cold in the winter and hot in the summer. And also when it's hot and humid out, you get like a musty smell coming through the floor. And I was wondering what's the best way to insulate it, to deal with it.
Absolutely. Well, to help answer your question, we have Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, here on the line.
All right, Maria, this is a problem I see all the time.
Okay, what's the best way to fix it?
Yeah, Zach, what's the best way to fix it?
Build a house around it. Well, that might be the best way. Well, let's come up with the simplest way. Is this surrounded on how many sides by house? Just one, or are several sides of this room touching the house?
One.
Just one, right? So if you're in your average bathroom, you can imagine the floor below, the ceiling above, the two walls, and the third wall that you walk through are all interior rooms at similar temperatures. And then you have one wall that is exterior, and there's a temperature difference between the 70 degrees inside and the -2 at the coldest day of the year, right? In this sunroom, you have roof, floor, and 3 walls that are all experiencing that big temperature delta. And that is just going to set you up for a room that's much more uncomfortable in general, regardless of how it's insulated year in and year out. So this type of situation is almost always uncomfortable unless it's sort of torn down and rebuilt with the thought of we're making this exceptionally efficient, even more efficient than the house itself.
Well, the wall and the ceilings are insulated. It's just the floor that's not insulated.
Okay. But still, you're just going to have a more uncomfortable situation than you have in the rest of the house. So I just want to set your expectations relatively low, because I believe even if you were to do a tremendous job insulating the floor, you'll see an incremental improvement, but it won't be the type of thing where this room feels as comfortable as your kitchen or your bathroom or your bedroom.
Okay.
But if I were to insulate it, I think the first thing I would try and do is do blown-in insulation from the bottom, blowing in either cellulose or fiberglass or wood fiber insulation into the joist cavities of the floor system by drilling holes and filling those bays up completely. That's going to be sort of the least intrusive. So that would be my first recommendation if it's possible. Obviously, I don't know what's happening under that room, but do you think that would be possible?
It's just a crawl space underneath the room is about 18 inches.
Oh, it's a crawl space, so it has a foundation.
Yeah. It's sitting on piers and it's open all around.
Okay, and if you're under it, do you see the open joists?
It's the open joist.
Okay, so if it's the open joist, not my favorite recommendation, but I think in this particular case, I would advise doing spray foam, closed cell spray foam on the underside, because it's not only going to act as a insulation, but it's also going to act as an air barrier, stopping air from pushing through. So I think calling a spray foam contractor and having them spray insulation on the underside of the floor system is going to be your easiest and quickest solution for this issue.
And will that stop moisture also from coming up?
It is airtight and vapor closed, so as long as it's done properly, it should stop any movement or exchange of air and moisture through that floor system.
Okay.
One thing to be aware of is that your floor system is exposed to the elements. So in the middle of July, these joists are growing, right? And they're going to push the insulation apart. And then in the winter, they're going to shrink down. And that's going to create a gap where air can travel through. What should happen before they come and spray is hopefully those joists could be cleaned in a way that the spray foam is really bonding to it. Because if they're really dusty, the spray foam is going to stick to it initially. And then once they go through that expansion and contraction process, the joist will pull away, and then you'll have all of these gaps. So it is important to not go with the cheapest spray foam contractor, but to go with the contractor who you trust, understands the product and the result you're looking for, and understands the seasonal movement of the joists, because you might get something that's very well performing for the first year, but then it's going to drop over time as those joists move. And this is something I see a lot, and most homeowners aren't crawling under their house to go check it.
That's so interesting.
Okay.
I didn't even know that could happen with spray foam.
Yeah.
It's very common. I think this is a very easy job. It'll be done in an afternoon.
And what's the best time of year to do that?
That's a great question. I would say spring or fall.
Okay.
All right, Maria, we wish you luck.
Thank you.
Coming up, Chef Roy Choi shows us his old house.
The first house that my family was able to buy after 13, 14 years in the country. And it was our white picket fence house.
That's next on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largess. Coming up, the sleep doctor Michael Bruce will transform your bedroom into a place where sleep comes easy. But first, we go to Orange, California. Much like his food, Chef Roy Choi's childhood was a collision of immigrant hustle and SoCal grit.
This is Roy Choi. I'm a chef and author in Los Angeles, and this is my old house. We had moved a lot, especially as an immigrant family. A lot of immigrant families will understand. You're always kind of half-packed, bouncing around a room in someone's house to an apartment. But as a child, it felt like you literally go to bed and wake up and you're moving. This move was very similar, but it felt different. The first house that my family was able to buy after 13, 14 years in the country. And it was our white picket fence house, a 70s ranch style house. It was a corner house. It was white with a brown roof. And it was our first time moving to the suburbs. We were from the city in Koreatown and downtown Los Angeles to a city of Orange. It was a lot of big transitions for everyone. It happened at a time where I was transitioning into teenage years. It happened at a time where my parents finally moved from their financial state, getting by day to day, check to check, and finally making their first breakthrough. My dad never had money like that before. And so he spent that money like we all do when we first get money. We bought a Cadillac and he bought that house. I remember that ride. We jumped in the back of the car. It felt like we were riding in a big ship. We drove down the freeway and everything around me just changing. Palm trees, the street lamps, and mini malls. When I moved to Orange County, everything changed on a dime. And I moved at an age where I was very impressionable, and then it was the age of new wave and heavy metal. It was just full-blown suburb stucco, a lot of Spanish tile, big framed windows, extensive landscaping. And then we pulled up into our neighborhood, there were wider lots, and then the houses were a little bit lower and wider, but they were ranched more in the 2,000 to 3,000 square foot range. It had a huge olive tree in the front. The first thought that came to our minds, because we're an immigrant family, we're very frugal and resourceful, was like, we're gonna start an olive business. Ultimately, that olive tree littered our whole front yard forever. But when we first pulled in, we're like, we're gonna start canning and drying olives for a living. It was a curved driveway. You walk past the olive tree, and then the front of the house, it was very ranch. It looked like Roy Rogers or John Wayne's guest house. There was literally a white picket fence around the house. It was a white and brown feel. The door was those old doors that have like the 70s style topaz colored glass that's like textured Brady Bunch glass. And you open the door and it opened up to a foyer that was completely yellow, wrapped in a felt raised wallpaper. It was like a flower pattern. That area was probably the size of like a small bathroom. You walk in, you could take your shoes off, and there was a little coat closet. And then he had a record player right there in the front. And to the left was the living room that connected to the dining room. And that had a sloped ceiling because of the shape of the roof of the ranch house. And then if you went to the right, that went down into the family room, which had a fireplace, and it looked towards the backyard. And then the kitchen was to the left. I come from a family where my mom is cooking 24/7 because the food is food that you have to marinate or pickle or ferment. Our kitchen looks like a ceramic studio, but if ceramics were all food. Nothing was put away because it was constantly being used. So as pots were being washed, they were just stored right there on the floor or even on the dining table. Our dining table was never set. You would just eat wherever you could squeeze in. That's the center of action. My mom is always at the stove. There's pots and pans everywhere. There's fermenting bottles. All that food, it doesn't fit in the kitchen, so it starts to migrate out into the family room. And then it's on the fireplace mantle. Next to the kitchen, there was a wet bar. That wet bar became like a vegetable washing station. It wasn't scotches and old fashions. That little wet bar was like filled with vinegars and sesame oils and soy sauces and fermented bean paste, and then the little sink that it used to get clogged all the time. I remember because she used to wash all the vegetables in that little bar sink, and that little drain is not built for all that stuff, so it was crazy. I would say if there's a soundtrack to my house, it would be the sound of a blender. The blender was always on. The food that she made required the blender so much We only had one blender. It was an old green blender. And she would make all of these really pungent fermented pastes in there that were just filled with garlic and chives and ginger. Ultimately, we used the same blender we would make milkshakes in. So our strawberry and vanilla and chocolate milkshakes tasted like garlic and ginger. Our house smelled like fermented bean paste, dried anchovies, seaweed. And these are wonderful smells, man. You walk in and it's almost like the smell envelops you. For me, it was home. It was being alive, because the food is alive. The food is changing. I'm changing. I loved it, but I couldn't bring friends home for a minute because they would make this face, and it was just a face that I didn't know how to deal with. It made me even more private of a person. I really didn't bring that many friends over after that. The place that I found most solace was probably on the roof. It was at a time in the era of the introduction of hip hop from Run DMC, the Bronx. But I was in the suburb, but in my mind, I was in the Bronx on a fire escape. And I would just think up there and thinking no one would see me. But the neighbors used to drive by. They're like, what the heck is this little kid doing up on the roof? I was listening to early hip hop in my Walkman and sitting on the shingle roof of a ranch house in the suburb, not imagining, completely believing I was in the Bronx. To me, I felt like I was 12 stories high above everything, and that this whole nightmare of moving to the suburbs was going to go away. The biggest emotion is growth and transition. Everything around me was changing, and I was changing. My parents were changing. There were some dark times in that house, but without all those changes, I don't think I would be the person I am today. I don't think I would have become a chef. I don't think I would have been able to lead Kogi, the taco truck, into whatever dimension it has become. I needed those 4 years to figure out who I was to become, who I am as a person.
That was Roy Choi. Check out The Choi of Cooking from Penguin Random House, wherever you buy your books. A good night's sleep doesn't start when your head hits the pillow. It starts with the space you return to every night. Sleep expert Dr. Michael Bruce, known as the Sleep Doctor, is here to share how small changes can help your bedroom work with your body and make falling asleep feel a little easier. Dr. Bruce, what's one thing that people have in their bedroom that is affecting their quality of sleep?
Oh, their brain.
Overthinking.
Absolutely. I would argue that's probably the number one problem, but I would say roughly 20 to 25% of your ability to fall asleep and get good quality sleep has to do with your environment and your surroundings. It's not the majority by a long shot, but once you kind of cross the chasm, right, and you walk in through your bedroom, there's a lot of stuff that we can do in there that I think could be helpful for some people, depending upon what's going on.
So what are the elements of the actual room itself that can affect your quality of sleep?
So the way I like to think about it is I like to think about the 5 senses. So the first one is sight or light, right? And so of all of the senses, I would argue this one is probably the one that has the biggest effect, specifically a very particular frequency of light called blue light, which is in almost every light bulb there is. It actually lowers the production of melatonin. Now, for folks out there who may not know this, melatonin is kind of the key that starts the engine for sleep. It's not the only thing you need, but if you ain't got no melatonin, you ain't sleeping. And it's very hard to do that in the presence of light. Put in a dimmer switch and dim the lights, things of that nature.
How much are we dimming a light down before bed, and how long before bed?
I would say 50%, and I would say at least 30 minutes before bed would be a good kind of prescription, if you will. Your bedside table lamps, just put 60-watt bulbs in them instead of 120-watt bulbs. Something like that. No overhead, or if it's overhead, it's on the dimmer. Now, here's something interesting, Jen, that a lot of people don't know, is they now make bulbs that have filters on the inside that filter blue light but look white. So if you really want to go crazy, you can go buy this circadian lighting. So if lighting is your thing, I would consider doing that. Along the road of lighting, I would also tell people you want to buy little mini night lights and have one on the way to the bathroom and then have one in the water closet itself. Because what you don't want to do is in the middle of the night, flip on the light, tell your brain it's morning, it stopped producing melatonin. That would be terrible. So having some strategically placed night lights, I think could be a valuable thing.
Okay, so moving on to another very important sense, the sense of sound and sound being present in a bedroom. What do we need to make sure we're covering there?
Sound absolutely has an effect. A sound machine, earplugs, things of that nature can be very, very helpful. They actually now have specialty ear plugs or earbuds. Think about like your earbuds that you would wear to listen to music, but these are special ones that were created specifically for your ear to sleep in and on. So if you're a side sleeper, you can actually still sleep in these things and they will play nice music. They will send in meditations, podcasts, whatever it is that you're looking for. You can stick cotton in your ears just as easily and it doesn't cost you anything. Or you can go to the local drugstore and buy those foam-based earplugs, shove them in, and you're probably pretty good. One word of caution is if you are going to buy earplugs, you want them noise level rated or NLR at 32 or below, which means it will block out approximately 32 decibels. If it blocks out much more, you can't hear the fire alarm.
So when you think about the different senses, then it brings us to touch.
So let's start out with your sleep system, your mattress, your pillow, and your sheets. So what you want to do is you're looking for a product that has two functions: support and comfort. What support is when you're lying on your back or on your side where your spine is completely aligned. Comfort is merely getting you to stay in that position for as long as humanly possible, eventually throughout the entire evening. So you really want to look for a mattress that's got support and comfort kind of combined together. Generally speaking, you could probably get away with a product that's somewhere in the $2,000 to $2,500 if you wanted to get a nice mattress. But I want to be clear, you get what you pay for. And mattresses turn out to be something that if you're going to spend money, I would spend some money on it. However, I'll be honest with you, I've changed more people's lives by having them change out their pillow than just about anything else.
Picking a pillow is a very hot topic. I feel like people feel very strongly and very connected to their pillow.
Oh, yes, they do.
But how long are you really supposed to have a pillow? Are you supposed to keep it for a great length of time, or is this something we should be switching out more often?
Yes. Remember, a pillow is a bed for your head. And so what you're trying to do is align your nose in line with your sternum, right? You don't want your head to be too far forward or you can't breathe. Too far backward, you tend to choke. If you're leaning to one side, you're going to get pain signals. So pillow size is going to matter based on initial sleep position. What'll happen is your body will rotate back to that starting sleep position because it's the most comfortable position that you're going to be in based on your pillow height. And by the way, they also make certain cutouts inside of pillows so that you can have even more support lower down in your neck. Now, many people wonder about what goes inside a pillow and what should we think about there. If you're a big feather person, me personally, I would rather use synthetic down than actual down. So number one, you lower the level of allergies and allergens. But when you use real feathers, what's called the quill or the spine of the feather will poke through and kitch in the neck and things like that. Whereas with synthetic, it's just this nice, soft, silky kind of feeling thing. A lot of people now are using crumbled memory foam or torn memory foam with this kind of synthetic down. It makes a really nice kind of moldable sort of feature set for your pillow, which I think is probably pretty good.
What happens when our body is too warm or too cold when we're sleeping?
Your core body temperature rises till about 10:30 at night, and it hits a peak, and then it drops. That drop is a signal to your brain to release melatonin. Here's the problem. If it's too hot, you don't have any melatonin. By the way, this is one of the reasons why we ask people not to exercise within 4 hours of going to bed, because their core body temperature is too high. However, there is a very odd research that's gone on, which shows, and this is bizarre, but it's true, if you heat somebody's feet, it actually helps them fall asleep. It turns out you have no hair on the bottom of your feet. And so the blood vessels, when they open up, dissipate heat from your feet faster than any other part of your body. Now, on the reverse side of it is the cold. Ambient temperature in the room should probably be somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees, generally speaking. The body will start to shake and shiver at that particular temperature, and that will be disruptive to your ability to not only fall asleep, but to stay asleep and get good quality sleep. So going much below that 65 in the outer climate outside of the covers is probably not advised.
So then moving on to smell.
So aromatherapy, believe it or not, there's studies to show it works. Now, I want to be very, very clear about aromatherapy. I do not subscribe to aromatherapy with candles because fire and sleep don't mix. I personally like to use a little sachet, like a little bag. And so I actually make my own aromatherapy. I make these little sachets with lavender in them. You can buy lavender at like the local craft store. But what's nice about it is the whole room doesn't smell. This is a little sachet. You just toss it inside your pillow and then you can smell it and doesn't necessarily affect your bed partner.
So what's one change you could make in your bedroom tonight if you wanted to have better sleep?
I think the biggest change in your bedroom tonight, if you wanted to have better sleep, would be to set your alarm for one time 7 days a week. So when you wake up in the morning, sunlight hits your eye and you have a special cell in your eye called a melanopsin cell, which turns off the melatonin faucet in your brain, okay? But it sets a timer for about 14 hours later to start melatonin again. And don't use the snooze button. That's the other factor. Snooze is the single worst invention in all of sleep, by the way. The average snooze is 7 to 9 minutes long. Your body can't get back into a deep enough stage of sleep. So all you're doing is giving yourself light, crappy sleep. So when you wake up, hit the alarm and get your butt out of bed.
Well, Dr. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Need more help? Go to sleepdoctor.com for a personal consultation. And now it's time for one last thing, my favorite tool.
Hi, Jen. It's me, Mark McCullough, the show's Mason. My favorite tool is a baker's bag. Bakers use it for frosting a cake. I don't. I use it when I'm repointing mortar joints. So if there's loose or missing mortar, I fill this baker's bag with nice wet mortar. One of the best things about using a baker's bag is when I squeeze it, the mortar goes into the joint the full depth. That mortar flows out of that baker's bag so easily that it always hits the back of the joint. After this wet mortar sets up, I take my joiner, which is a metal tool, and I'll slick those joints. When I slick those joints with that tool, it waterproofs the mortar.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.